how do you say, the
ad or something.
Ads for this, start recruiting.
Yeah.
And so I've been mainly focused on that and creating particular committees, like trying to get everything in order, that was not so in order before, and so forth. So yes, I have great hope. I think that the organizationally we're getting strong and professional this way. And Cambodia, yes, in Cambodia, Siem Reap, which is the second city where we had to close the restaurant and the yoga studio, is to 90% people live off of tourism, and tourism has been completely nixed in Cambodia because borders were closed.
Yeah, exactly.
So nobody
non-existing.
Nobody could even get a tourist visa to come in. Mm-hmm. So basically, we were just paying rent,
Yeah, exactly, and nothing. I
mean, initially we thought this thing was going to be over after 3 months, but it didn't happen that way.
Yeah.
And we were lucky that the landlady, gave us a deal to get out of the lease. So we said, let's take the opportunity and go.
Yeah.
And focus our attention on just Phnom Penh. Mm-hmm. And Phnom Penh, the capital, is a very different situation because Phnom Penh is more and more becoming, a city to be reckoned with in Southeast Asia, and it has a diversified economy now. So there are people who are still making a living. They're not like dependent on tourism. And we were actually able, because Cambodia did really well during the first year of the pandemic. They only had about 500 reported cases within a year.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay.
Because they closed the borders, and I mean, they were very, very strict with quarantine.
Yeah, that helps, of course. Yeah.
Like that. And then, so we were actually able to reopen the studio with some limited capacity in August. And we never were needed to close until March. And during those months, more and more of our partners, which are NGOs and businesses, we now have a lot of businesses who are demanding yoga for their employees. So that's actually our major source of revenue in Cambodia.
Great.
Plus the classes.
Yeah. We
also offer classes for garment workers in these horrible, like, cheap clothing factories.
Yeah.
We have one or two of our teachers who come from that background, who were garment workers and now are able to teach yoga, which is
amazing,
an incredible, incredibly empowering thing for them.
Absolutely, so amazing.
And then again, as we said before, they can go to these factories and teach and really relate to the people there, like what they're going through.
Exactly.
So that had really started to increase again. And then in March, there was, somebody who did a community spread. And since then, the numbers have been quite high in Cambodia, but they're not out of control. And we are just able to open the Phnom Penh studio again now at the end of May, because we're out of the COVID, say cluster now.
And
also the idea now was to bring the restaurant to Phnom Penh, because we have a kitchen in there too, but not as big. It's not like a real restaurant, but to be able to do delivery service.
Okay.
I think is a good idea for the COVID time, because a lot of restaurants are closed and people are, cautious about going out to eat and things like that. So.
And it will still give you some money also, some money coming in at least then that way.
Well, we hope so. Yeah. We hope to open now in June, and we'll try it out and see if it works.
Great. That's really, I think that's what's been happening here a lot as well with everybody. And I think there is definitely, people really loving this sort of, at least they can still have takeaway food, or, I hope it works for you,
Yeah, I have the feeling it'll work. You always have to try, but I'm hopeful that things will pick up again, but at the same time, you just have to adapt to whatever is going on at this point. You have to be flexible and creative. And in Rwanda, we only have one organization we're working with at the moment, because all the other ones, they require like weekly tests, or or they've had to close or whatever. But we have one organization which is with survivors, and it's because they have an outdoor space. They're in the countryside.
Okay, so they can just teach there.
They have a grass outside. I can actually send you the video if you like.
Yeah, I'd love to, and we'll put it in for people to.
Yeah, it's actually pretty amazing to see how much this practice helps people deal with,
of course,
trauma that is lodged in the body and the mind. People who, I hear so many stories, of people who have lost their sleep. They can't sleep, and then once they start practicing yoga, they're sleeping again. I mean, it's just amazing,
Yeah, I think especially in places of war, that you bring a practice of peace, is, I think, incredible, and so needed. And what you're spreading, the seeds you're spreading with Azahar, it's so important. And I really hope anybody listening, just give your money. I'll put it in the.
Always needed.
Always need money. Yeah, I'm even thinking like I'd love to do a fundraiser for you anyway as well, for like a yoga class, and maybe we could do it around the time that I'm releasing this podcast. I think that'd be amazing.
That would be so nice. Thank you so much.
Whatever I can, because you do that regularly too, right? You guys, because I always get your newsletters, and I feel like you do regular fundraisers for the foundation, right? Through your.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, I've been lucky enough that I haven't myself been in financial need this year, but I have. So I teach 2 classes a week and I donate all the proceeds to Azahar.
Yeah, so great.
It's a little bit of income and a little bit of awareness also with the people who come,
Yeah. See, so you can, people listening, you can give you money and you have an amazing class from someone who's been teaching for 500 years. So just do it already. Because that's like we're getting closer to the end. But what I was really wondering, in general, like, do you still have the motivation to teach after all this time? And how is your motivation levels in this pandemic time? Because, I know that you, as you said, like you're in Switzerland just on a screen now, which is so different. I mean, I've been in your workshops where you have 200 people sweating on their mats. So, I mean, it's so different. Like, how do you deal with that?
Well, I mean, I think that this time for me was, a time for retreat. And if I hadn't had to deal with Azahar, I would have not taught at all. But because I had to keep Azahar afloat, I decided to teach. And first I taught too much. And, I think many of us realize that teaching on Zoom is actually tiring. Even if you can do it from home, it's not so simple to do that. Now I've gotten quite used to it. I'm not a big tech person, and I have a fairly regular group of people who come. So it's nice to have that. And I've chosen to teach it at an intermediate advanced level, because most people who are coming are very serious practitioners. So I just don't have time right now to teach something more basic or more
but you also adapt to who's coming there, right? Like, it's nice when you have this level of people coming, then you just teach what.
Yes, and I give options. Give options. When I teach something that's complex, well, first of all, I work with a lot of repetition, so mostly the beginning of the class is always very similar. And I also give a spiritual teaching that can be helpful for this time, and then when I add more challenging asanas, I give people options to do something more simple, to work in stages. But as like with the more repetitive parts of the class, the more you take it, the more you get used to the transitions and all of that, and then you can kind of get into your zone, you know, into your zone.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, what's going on, you know?
And so at the moment you're just teaching twice a week, and then you also do some special workshops here and there, I think, right? At this stage.
Yeah, I had been doing some workshops, but for the summer I'm going to take a break, you know, from all of those extra things.
Yeah,
because there's really so many things I need to work on right now in terms of fortifying the core of AZAHAR, that I just can't be scattered all over the place. I have to really focus on that right now.
That's also what you were just saying about like nice to retreat and actually also really have that focus, because I think it's kind of the boring stuff, but it's also extremely important for an organization like AZAHAR. Of course, is all that paperwork and the admin and the, you know, the sort of reestablishing the foundation again as well. You know, I think that's extremely important.
Well, it's essential. I mean, if you run an organization professionally and that has credibility, you have to have all these things in place. You know, the problem is that unless you have a really good CEO or administrative support who can handle all of that, you know, you can't be running around the world teaching and think you're gonna have all those details under control. I mean, it's just not possible. So right now I really have to focus on that. And you know, when time comes, I'm teaching the 300-hour teacher training this fall in Italy between mid-October to mid-November, Jivamukti Teacher Training.
Yeah, because that's both online and in person, right?
It's both online and in person. Yeah, I mean, you know, hoping that things will stay the same.
Exactly. For
better.
Yeah, exactly.
East Europe.
That's the hopeful vision of where we're going towards. Yeah.
You know, it's like life is like that. You know, you never know what's coming. I mean, things can change in a snap of a finger.
Yeah.
It's because you're in a car accident, or you break a leg, or you lose your job, or you get in. I mean, I just wrote in my newsletter, this is probably the strangest time and most challenging time we've ever experienced.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because most of us never lived through World War II. You know, at least here in Europe and in America, we haven't had war on our own soil.
Exactly.
We've been very lucky that way.
Yeah, exactly.
We've never had those extraordinary circumstances. So these things just happen. That's part of life, and we have to count our blessings when we're, you know, still able to have a roof over our head, not working about food on our table, and
our organic veggies delivered to our door, right? as what just happened to you.
Exactly.
And do you feel like, because what you just said was I think a really important point, like our profession really got a hit, like, you know, being a yoga teacher, that kind of stuff. Are you pessimistic or optimistic about the future of yoga now? Like, do you think things will change coming from this pandemic living?
Well, I think yoga will always be there. I mean, yoga is a universal perennial practice. The format in how it is going to be taught may change a bit.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not sure that we're going to have the same format of these yoga studios with mat to mat packed classes, at least not for a while, I think.
Yeah.
Which actually I think is maybe not a bad thing, because I feel that yoga has been so commercialized, and there's been so much emphasis on like just packing it in and having so many students and blah, blah, blah. And of course, of the financial reward from all of that. And to me, that is not really what yoga is. So perhaps yoga will move again more into a direction where people will be teaching from their homes, or where there will be more, you know, one-on-one or in smaller groups. And we'll just have to figure out the economics of all of this, you know, how to work with all of that. But then at the same time, I don't know. I think I thought that this pandemic might really take us into systemic changes, and we might still see